Sorry, this is a bit of a silly start. I understand that people who may one day watch this, maybe before I'm gone from Earth, maybe after, maybe society will collapse and it won't even be accessible. Who knows? Who knows why I look to a chart which is reflective of the skies above us to tell a story, a star story. I attempt to look at these symbols and share the message that wants to come through me. It's very biased. It's very bound up in what I think is possible based on what I've perceived with my senses, based on what I've read and experienced as I practice this strange art that I think is beautiful. I'm gonna start by shutting this to hopefully minimize any undesirable noise. It is a full moon in Cancer. So that means the sun and the moon are opposite one another. You can see here, we've got the sun in Capricorn on the 27th of December. The sun will be at 4 degrees Capricorn and the moon 4 degrees Cancer. So right off the bat, a full moon is in opposition. It means that, let's see if I can put that there and hopefully it will help it stay. Works for me. So yes, that sun in Capricorn is where we begin, because I always like to start with the sun. It's rather integral to our experience. It is a powerful symbol of the choice to be radiating. It is emitting, it is lighting up. And the more that we learn about the world, since it's the ancient people probably didn't have an understanding as much that we were revolving around it, because we're very much in our perspective. What we know now about the sun is really the thing that we're swirling around. So the significations of what we know about it are very powerful. It seems to be the grounding, if you will, force for our experience in many ways. It's very, very powerful. Anything that gets too close to it, so it's we're near enough, but not right there in the heart of it. That powerful sun is in Capricorn, which means that force is in the sign that starts winter. It's the sign that wants to make things last over time. It wants to reach the pinnacle of what is possible over time. It's very grounded. It's very material based. It is a hard-working kind of a sign. Now that sun is not in its home territory of Leo, right? So that means we have to look what is in charge of Capricorn, and that planet is Saturn. And Saturn is, of course, in Pisces at 2 degrees Pisces. And it happens to be, I'll show you guys this. It happens to be making, see the sun there? It's making a nice little sextile. 2 to 4 degrees is not a perfect sextile, but it's within 2 degrees of a perfect sextile. So this is pretty nice. This means that the thing that's in charge of Capricorn is able to just essentially share a little bit of energy. Capricorn and Pisces are sextiling each other, but the fact that this is near an exact sextile, it's not an exact sextile, just sort of exaggerates that exchange. Pisces is very interested in the collective, right? It's got sort of a very expansive, porous, connective kind of a nature, and that's where Saturn is, which is all about boundaries, limits. It's kind of a strange thing. So Saturn, it rules Capricorn and it rules Aquarius, so it's been there for the past couple years, 5-ish, let's say, and now it's sliding out into new territory. So it's still nearby where it is at home, given how slowly it moves, but it's like it's going to be a long time before it makes it back into its home territory again. So it's, if Saturn cycles have a beginning, it's probably where it is most powerful, just because that's the place where Saturn is most happy. Though it is also happy in Libra, but again, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be a long time. So this boundary, limitation, restrictive force is now in this sort of porous place. So it's, if you have something as vast and wide as Pisces, as something as heart-centric and sensitive and emotional and dreamy going on, it's when you bring a lot of boundaries and restrictions, it's in some ways it's like it kind of freezes things, slows things down, stops things. It sort of brings that. So the part of Pisces in your chart is getting that sort of freezing it out energy. The good news is that sextile means that maybe the learning and the exchange of these, the Sun and Saturn, will be like limits and boundaries to where it is that your energy is flowing. So it's like, is this working, giving energy and constructively working towards this thing really the right choice? I mean, maybe clarity about the right choice, about what is achievable and what's worth giving energy to. So like for me, I'm struggling right now to kind of secure a sense of like fulfilling work that I want to do, that I'm excited about doing. There's a kind of desire for that sort of joyful service, helpful communal thing to start manifesting. So it's like, ooh, that would be a nice thing to consider for my own chart. But again, I don't know what's going on specifically in your life, as I don't know who is watching this. But limits, boundaries, slowing down, halting things, it's helpful. It's like a helpful kind of an energy. So it's like stopping something, limiting something, changing directions. It's not, changing directions is maybe not the right word, because it's Capricorn sort of has made up its mind about what it wants. But yeah, I'm just getting the sense that it's a little more slippery. That Saturn in Pisces is a little more adaptable and changeable. So it's like slightly maybe softening of certain like rigid ideas about what needs to be achieved and what needs to be accomplished, and what is like standard yeah, it's getting a little slippery because of that Saturn in Pisces. Now, what rules over Pisces? We've got Jupiter in Taurus. That Jupiter in Taurus is actually getting a sextile as well. So it's another good little bit of data exchange. So there's the Sun, ruled over by Saturn in Pisces, ruled over by Jupiter in Taurus. So that's 5 degrees, 2 degrees, 4 degrees. They really are forming that nice little sextile. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good to see that. So the Sun in Capricorn has a nice bit of energy coming from that Saturn in Pisces, which is getting a nice bit of energy from that Jupiter in Taurus, because that's what's in charge. So again, so the rulership path is there. So it's like this very collective, universal, slippery Saturn, helping to make sure that long-term achievement focus is sort of really getting the connection I think that it needs, like helping it get that connection that it needs, because of some sort of deep sensitivity, some sort of deep sense of attunement. And what is in charge of that Pisces energy right now? Again, that Jupiter and Saturn, which is another sextile, so another good of little bit of helpful energy, another bit of kind of exchange that's optimal. That Jupiter in Taurus is very much like, I like this because it's comfortable, I like this because it tastes good, I like this because it smells good, I like this because it's sustainable. So habits like I cook bread almost every couple days because it's good. That it is a retrograde Jupiter, so it's sort of like reflecting, moving backwards, so it's sort of like kind of like reviewing a little bit, looking back and saying like, that served me, that served me, that served me, that this serves me, that serves me. It's like, it's very simple again. This is all feminine stuff so far. So Sun to Saturn to Jupiter, all super feminine, sextile exchange. Now the cool part about that exchange is that it's earth to water to earth. So it's a practical, tangible to an emotional, sensitive, inspirational kind of a thing over to this comfort practical thing again. All so far very, very constructive, very much oriented towards the community and how you fit in with the culture. So it's nice. It's helpful. It's a helpful kind of a flow so far. Now that next jump is not going to be as great. Now the next jump is to Venus. Now there's no direct aspect to showcase you guys on that exchange. Taurus is ruled over by Venus. It is in the opposite sign, so at least it sees it. But if Venus, ooh, yeah, it's just not a great place for Venus to be. She's at the end of Scorpio, so 26 degrees. So luckily not too much more time chilling there. I don't think she's about to go retrograde. I think she went retrograde in Leo, I think, a couple months ago. So I don't think it's quite time. I don't think it's quite time for her to go retrograde. But yeah, she's the goddess of love and pleasure and beauty is in the sign of the Scorpion. So there's a harshness, a poison, a sting, an isolation, a kind of, I mean, it can be very passionate and very intense, but it's not the happiest place. So Sun in Capricorn is a neutral kind of a sign. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Ruled over by Saturn and Pisces. Again, not a problem. And there's that helpful exchange into Jupiter and Pisces. Again, not a problem. It's all of these things are okay. All of these things are okay. But the sextiles make me think that it's better. But now if you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, you get to that Venus in Scorpio, and that one's not so great. It's like the lesson for me is like, like a deep, intense, passionate drive. Venus wants to be sweet, but it's just a really strange. It's an intense thing, and it's not the most pleasant. It's not the most pleasant, but it wants to be pleasant. So there's probably like love that is involved in these deep desires, but it's just, it doesn't maybe have all the access that it wants. What rules over Scorpio? Mars in Sagittarius at 23 degrees. Mars in Sagittarius is ruled over back to that Jupiter in Taurus. Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Sag, Jupiter in Taurus, Venus. So the flow for the sun ends up stopping at this Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Saturn, Taurus, Scorpio, Saturn. No, excuse me, Sagittarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Taurus, Scorpio. Sagittarius to Taurus is not my favorite of exchanges. It's not the easiest. At Mars to Jupiter to Venus, yeah. It's not the easiest. At least the Jupiter and Venus are like, they're not in an opposition like by number, like there's not like a line between them that's highlighting it, but they are in opposite signs, so they're not like out of element, which is nice. It is what it is. There's the reason that I think Taurus and Sagittarius are at kind of a strange relationship to each other is, while they're both ruled over by planets that want to do good things, that want to bless and to connect, they just don't really necessarily have a similar approach to it, because Taurus is like, this is time tested and has worked and is comfortable in my body, where Sag is like imagineering, hot air, very, 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 very blessed and maybe not the most grounded. Like, again, I have a lot of Taurus placements, so my Sag energy, I have Lilith there, so there's a bit of like wrath and injustice that I'm sort of, is maybe imprinted on my definition of Sagittarius, just because I find that the universe is harsh. Maybe there's a lot of darkness, and there's a lot of pain, and there's a lot of anger and stuff that I have towards things. So yeah, I think that maybe there's a little bit of bias there. I'm not saying that Sagittarius people are bad or that Sagittarius energy is wrong, but it's yeah. Mars is in Sag right now, so again, that heat and that cutting and that aggression is sort of even more prominent, in that constellation. So it's kind of, oof, yeah. So again, like, things are going all right, and then but when you get into the like the deepest root, it's Mars to Jupiter to Venus. It's a flow that's like, if you compare Taurus to Scorpio as like sort of opposites, one of them is like this mammal that is eating and sleeping and providing milk and cheese and kind of living this very simple, big, confidently there experience, whereas the Scorpion is like this small reptilian, not exactly a friendly creature, will sting you if it gets close, like all by itself under a rock. They're so different. And Sagittarius is larger than life. It's a fantasy. It's a dream. It's a dreamy, and it has a transformative. It's basically like taking something and really trying to like just go for the best of the best. I think that's the reason Sagittarius is so well received. But yeah, that Mars there, so it's like aggressive Mars. Yeah, and Mercury is retrograde at this point, hanging out pretty close to that Mars. I can show you guys a picture of it if you want. Yeah, it's kind of that aggressive communications happening in Sag. Luckily, Mercury and Mars are outside of the beams of the sun, so they're hopefully going to be a little more precise than they might have otherwise been. That kind of tells you what's going on with the sun. It's really interesting that there's these positive... Saturn and Jupiter are positively sharing energy with the sun in Capricorn, and they're also positively sharing energy with the moon in Cancer, which is at home. So thankfully, so the sun had to go boom, 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 boom. That's how it ends. Whereas for moon, it's just like boom, I'm home. So it's kind of, home is maybe the perfect word for it. Oh wait, I was going to show you guys this too. So see this nice shape to the sun? That's Saturn and Jupiter, a trine and sextiles. And then here, sextile and trine. Like the most prominent, more exact one is between the sun and Jupiter, Taurus to Capricorn. So this is a very sensible, grounded, tangible achievement kind of a signification. And then this one is, this one's just very sweet. Very, very sweet. Very, very, very comfy. Very, very, very nice. Tastes really good. Kind of a thing. So again, oppositions are having to balance, are having to negotiate, are having to see that there's two different things to consider. So every full moon has that intensity of that, like, ooh, I've got to work against that deadline or that force. This is what needs to be done. This is what we're gonna do. It's all out there. The show must go on. That kind of an energy, I think, is full moon. Like, oh, there's no hiding. Look at it. Boom. Like that. That's the signification of that. The moon is sensitive, emotional, probably how the thoughts are working. So there's a nurturing, inclusive, protective, home, mom, comfy sort of an orientation there, going against that sun in Capricorn. So the light of the sun is long-term, achieve success, and the moon's like, okay, I'll shine that light back. But the way that it's going to be shown back is it's going to be balanced out, like with sensitive safety in your little shell. It's very, but again, Saturn and Jupiter, these are the more distant, the more they still affect the individual a great deal because they're in charge of certain signs, but they're more oriented towards like collection of it's not like Pluto or Neptune or Uranus. They're not those type of generational pacing. It's still faster. It's like how 4th and 5th graders are kind of alike. Whereas if you take a 5th grader and a 3rd grader, it's like, oh wow, there was a big distance. Like you can start to see those kind of differences in people, especially when you're younger. Saturn and Jupiter, they're those kind of jumps. It's not like the difference between like an elementary school person and someone who's, in high school. Like it's like, oh wow, they don't belong in the same category anymore. The ultimate category. We're all under the same heavens, but you know what I mean. Saturn and Jupiter are closer They're they want to help. They want to help in a Pisces Taurus way. So it's how your day-to-day habits, what makes you comfortable, fits in with everybody else. How the sun and the moon, the quickest ones, if you will. The moon is so fast, it changes signs so dang fast. And the sun, compared to the other planets, many of them, it does too. Never retrograde. These are the most close to home, the most obvious planets. So it's a big moment. Obviously, the 27th is sort of in the United States. It's in between holidays. You know, meetings with family, traveling for this, preparing this meal, you know, getting ready for the new year. Yeah, there's a form of structure and support that wants to go here, and it's again a pretty feminine time. It's a time of receiving, of like, as opposed to generative yin kind of energy, as opposed to sort of emitting yang kind of fiery and air stuff. Mars and Mercury are in Sag, but I think those are the only planets that are not in a feminine sign. So it's I'm getting the idea of like witnessing the sensations going on in your body, witnessing the emotions that are coming up. I've been watching a lot of Survivor lately because it's been very immersive, but one of the things I've started to do is try and like do little exercises and stretches while I'm doing it, because there's a part of me that has a lot of resistance to doing much of anything, but that I don't have resistance to watching. I'm enjoying it, but I'm also trying to realize that my body can't be in that posture all the time on the couch. So it's like, okay, how do I work with this? If I'm giving myself permission to indulge a great deal of television, how can I like flow with it? How can I be more constructive? Like, I had 2 auditions. One of them I went to, the other one I chose not to, because they never responded back to my email. And I'm like, you know what, if they aren't on it enough to respond to my email, then I'm not on it enough to go and meet them. Like, you know, it's like, was that the right choice? Could it have worked out? Maybe. But I'm also like, it's a bit, I'm saying no to things. To people, to places, to phenomena. I wish that things worked out more and were easier, and maybe they will. This is a remarkably like cradled full moon experience. It's nice. Oops, orientational. So you can see that, pretend that's like the top of the basket there, those blue lines. Now, the other stuff that's really going on is this square from Mercury and Mars. From Mercury and Mars there, Neptune. So these aggressive communications are maybe getting a hit from the dreamy Neptune, the dreamy escape artist. Like this is such a slow moving planet. It's the last planet in our system now, because Pluto's not considered that. It's been demoted. So it's very far away. It's to me, this is like transcendental experiences, but I think you can get those with dangerous substances. So I'm not, because this is a square, it's just like a little bit of a warning. It's a little bit of a warning. You have to balance, like set and setting. If you're going to do that kind of stuff, set and setting. Be careful. Don't break any boundaries that are going to cause suffering, you know? That's kind of what's coming up for me there. That Venus does want to help. Again, anytime you have a trine from Venus, it's good, but like Venus in Scorpio is, again, not the most powerfully constructive thing. But yeah, and that Saturn and Pisces squaring, it's another balancing act. Restrictive, limiting, going with I mean, it's just that Venus, she's not able to do much, but she's being asked to do a lot. She's being asked to trine. So I've got there's a deeply emotional thing going on there. What reality are you in? I'm not sure. Luckily, this one's going to be like, maybe, I mean, it's hard to say that, yeah, this is just not nice. This is just not a nice position, I think, for Venus to be in. Whereas, like, well, man, it is such a beautiful amount of potentials. So I want to be reasonable in my storytelling, because I want it to be grounded. I don't want this to be not relatable to all of us. But yeah, man, Pluto is inching its way out of Capricorn. Oh, it's inching its way out of Capricorn. It's very deep, that Venus. It's very, there's a little bit of deep. Is it even there kind of a power, like, woo, that square from Saturn, that trine from Neptune. Okay. Oof. Y'all. That Venus is being hit by Saturn, helped by Pluto, and helped by Neptune. But like, whenever I see trines from Neptune or sextiles from Pluto, it's like, okay, it is helpful, but like, okay, a wrecking ball is this very heavy, powerful thing that absolutely can do the exact thing you want it to do. You know, you can drive it up to this thing that needs to be demolished, and you can, boom, knock the thing over. Cool. Very helpful. Very helpful. But that same thing, if you get someone who's intoxicated and they're driving around and they didn't sleep last night, or they're tripping on something, and they go and they hit the wrong house. I mean, that's the kind of ungroundedness, like, that I'm worried about. Just like a really big fucking mistake, like Neptune squaring Mercury retrograde in Sag. Ugh, like, yeah, like, it's a big detail thing. A big details has been overlooked. It's not sweet. It is not sweet. A part of me is just like, I don't want to be paranoid, but let me just go to my calendar and see what I've got planned for that day. I'm just like, okay, I don't think I have much. It's been a pretty dry few. I work tomorrow. Yeah, I don't think I have any plans, like, for the next couple weeks. I'm hopeful. Well, I don't know. I auditioned for that show. There's a chance that I could get it, and that could be really fun. But I haven't heard. I have not heard. Yeah. Neptune. That Neptune is hanging out around my sun, too. Pretty dang close. Exactly 25 degrees, 0 minutes. It's like 2 degrees away from my sun. Jupiter's inching back towards my Venus. It's an interesting time. It's an interesting time to be alive, to be you, to be me. I'm feeling a bit torn. I'm feeling a bit torn. Feeling a bit. It's like, I know that there's tension. I know that there's tension. There's this pressure. It's like, be productive. Find a job. Like, contribute. Work. Be valuable. Like, it's this fight. This sort of fight that's going on. And I'm like, I don't. Yeah, there's a part of me that's like, okay, Caleb. Okay. What are you gonna do today? You didn't get a job at the school, so you applied for some auditions, you applied on LinkedIn. You go to the library and return some library books. That's probably a good idea. You've got food. You don't need to go to the grocery store. Exercise is important. Staying hydrated is important. You could do some creative writing. I seem to have less resistance to coming on and rambling in this way. I'm not doing it all the time. I'm doing it essentially twice a month. I do it for new moons and full moons just to sort of see some sort of karma here. Wanting it to be grounded, but also understanding it's made up. Having people laugh and cry and get angry in response to what you say. It's a very interesting tool for stirring things up. It really is. I do like it. Love, light, and snakes bite, y'all. I'm gonna get some sun. Here we are.